So it's been 26 years since we got the film Good Burger from comedy duo Kenan and Kel. And fast forward to 2023, we have Good Burger 2, reuniting the pair that have seemingly had an estranged relationship for quite some time. I don't know, it's kind of iffy. Is Good Burger 2 just another nostalgic cash grab, or does it live up to the goofy cult following of the first film? Stay tuned to find out. Now, when I was a wee lad, my comfort go-to movies were The Three Ninjas, Harriet the Spy, The Paper Brigade, and Good Burger. I know, I have immaculate movie taste. So when Good Burger 2 was finally announced after being in development hell for so long, it's pretty safe to say all us 90s kids were gleaming with nostalgic delight. And right off the bat, they haven't missed a beat. In the goofiest way possible. We start off with a fever dream induced musical number from Kel Mitchell's Ed, and the dude hasn't aged a bit since 1997 and just slips right back into the role of Ed. And this scene is followed by an obligatory Pete Davidson cameo. Trust me, there are going to be a lot more cameos. Now, before I go any further, I am going to delve into certain plot points throughout the film, so if you might consider that a spoiler, go watch the film, then watch this review. Pretty please. To sum up the basic premise of Good Burger 2, we have Dex, played by Kenan Thompson, who loses everything after his entrepreneurial business loses all of its funding. He then turns to his old pal Ed for a job at Good Burger. Now Ed, now the owner of Good Burger, faces a giant corporation trying to buy him out, and once again, hilarity ensues. Going back to the development hell of Good Burger 2, it has just been incubating for so long, and we'd always see in interviews with Kenan and Kel saying it's happening, it's happening. Finally, as of last year, it was announced. They announced it, I believe, on Jimmy Fallon, one of the Jimmys, one of the talk shows, I don't know. And it seemed like such a quick turnaround. I mean, it's not a CGI heavy film, it's not a high budget Marvel production, but at the same time, the turnaround for this film is quite impressive. Now, my first overall thoughts. The first Good Burger film is severely flawed. It has like a 5 point something rating on IMDb, which usually you shouldn't pay attention to most times out of 10, but at the same time, it was very flawed, but at the same time, it was goofy, it was charming, it had this quirky humor going for it, and so does Good Burger 2. I enjoyed this a lot more than what I thought I would. It somehow captures the silly spirit of the original, it's surprisingly charming, and the humor is as goofy as the first film. Kenan and Kel slip right back into their respective roles of Ed and Dex, whilst of course having obligatory cameos peppered throughout the film. Again, the first film wasn't a critical success, but it was a product of the 90s, and not in a bad way, all being based off a skit from the Nickelodeon show All That. It definitely has this cult-like following amongst us 90 kids, so doing something like this in an age we live in now can be a hit or miss. But it seemingly hits, and it's by no means perfect, but I think that's why it works. The first film wasn't perfect. It's like having The Room, and then having a sequel to The Room, and it turns out really damn well, like a 9.8 out of 10 on IMDb. And I'm not comparing the first Good Burger to The Room. The Room is a fucking dumpster fire, but it's a fun dumpster fire, like Samurai Cop. But if you're going in the same direction of the original, what made the original so special, then you're definitely onto something. Essentially, this film is just good escapism. It's harmless. The film, however, does not try anything new, and is essentially a carbon copy of the first film in terms of the narrative structure. Look, in a way, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, these guys are getting older, you should really play into that notion. And instead of Mondo Burger trying to take over, it's now Mega Good Burger, and at one point trying to replace the Good Burger staff with robots and AI. The plot is beyond run-of-the-mill, but this isn't Oppenheimer or Inception. In fact, I never thought I'd say this, but the film perfectly demonstrates the cultural commentary we as a society face with the inclusion of AI possibly taking over certain jobs. Yeah, that's right, good summation. To sum up Good Burger 2, it did exactly what I needed it to do. It reminded me of the good times of the first Good Burger. Again, the first Good Burger was never perfect, but I think that's why we loved it so much, warts and all. It was goofy, it was wacky, and the same goes for Good Burger 2. I'm not a fan of how overly clean and polished and HD Nickelodeon and Disney films look, but that's the age we live in now with digital as opposed to film back in the 90s. It would have been cool to see this shot on film or have that film grain to it to try and match the color palette of the first Good Burger. Just really keep it seamless in terms of the transition from part 1 to part 2. At the same time, Kenan and Kel slip right back into their respective roles. This is just pure fun. There is nothing highbrow to think about this in terms of the plot structure, the character development. It did exactly what it needed to do. In terms of rating a film like this, It's tricky because you have each end of the spectrums, whether you are just here for a good time and you understand the value of the first Good Burger, what made it so good. But if you are a cinema snob, in the words of Charlie, aka Moist Critical, you're gonna think it's a big pile of steamy old dookie. But if you are at the other end of the spectrum, it's essentially a love letter to the first Good Burger film, and you know, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. So I think the best way to put it is Good Burger 2 definitely deserves a participation ribbon. I used to get these all the time. I tried my absolute best, warts and all, in athletics carnivals, swimming carnivals, and I always got the participation ribbon. And I feel like this is the same for Good Burger 2. It's harmless, it's fun, the characters are goofy and charming. There's much entertainment to be had with this film. It's on Paramount Plus. Again, it ain't winning any awards anytime soon, but the film knows what it is and does it really well. With that being said, guys, once you've seen Good Burger 2, drop a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. And also, what were your comfort movies from the 90s? If you weren't born in the 90s and born in the 2000s, fuck, I'm old. Love you guts. And I'll catch you in the next one. Oh, shit, I need a drink.